Good afternoon. Today is Monday, November 26, 2018. It is 1:02 p.m. and we're here for the regular trustee meeting, and we'll begin with a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have an agenda before us. Are there any modifications or additions?
June 25th and 18th, June 18th special and June 25th regular, please.
Okay. Any other changes or additions? If not, we have a motion to approve as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes.
Motion to approve general ledger report in the amount of $339,087.69 for the 11/21/18 payroll.
Second.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the payment listing reports in the amount of $102,535.74 for warrants through November 21st, 2018.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes.
Motion to approve, we'll do them individually, the minutes of June 18th, 2018 special meeting minutes.
Second.
Mr. Roberts?
Do we need any discussion on these?
The only discussion is the comment that I sent via email that I referenced essentially the Ohio Township Handbook, page A23, that specifically states, furthermore, public records must contain full and accurate minutes, including sufficient facts and information to permit the public to understand and appreciate the rationale behind the relevant public body's decisions. And I've stated on several occasions that sometimes our regular or special meeting minutes lack enough detail as far as what we discussed, specifically pros and cons or concerns we voiced, and detail we added, so that 8 years, 12 years from now, when folks look back, the minutes are very sterile, and they don't contain enough detail as to why we made or the rationale behind our decisions. So I had asked for the minutes to be revisited and revised. Ms. Aaron said they have not been, and I understand it's a workload issue, but that's the only comment.
And we were asking for updates to both sets? Or we're talking specifically about now June 18th? Was that?
It was just June 18th.
It was the special meeting, June 18th.
Special meeting.
Correct.
And then again, Ms. Aaron, due to workload or whatever, you've not added in the request of Mr. Prest?
No, I've not gone back. We're moving, these are, like I said, June 18th, so
I had asked
feel
us,
that this
yeah.
it is a representation of what happened in the meeting. I understand it is not as detailed as you would like it to be, but in the sake of moving forward, I'm presenting it to move forward. The YouTube does exist, so that can also be accessed at any time. It's not that I'm not hearing what you're saying.
The note that I had put, I said that given the must qualifier in the quote from the Township Handbook, the Ohio Township Handbook, I had asked that we revisit both meetings, specifically regarding the questions asked by the trustees and the responses from the contractors, the architects, and the staff regarding Station 65. Next was the questions from trustees regarding our pressing for a third-party audit of the township's AP issues and the fiscal office's response. And finally, the trustees' concerns and questions and requests regarding timely implementation and actions of the resolution we passed regarding investments. And so that's what I had asked be added back into the minutes. I thought those were very relevant. They weren't just general discussion. So, but we can move forward. So unless someone else has a concern, we can vote yes, no, and move forward.
Well, I have a concern that we're looking at June minutes and it's already almost December. I've not been in a sort of situation before in my life where meeting minutes have been so delayed. I understand there's a workload issue, but still, meeting minutes should be pretty relevant within 30 days, I would think.
Yeah, and that is normally the case, and that is what I've always worked to attain. So this year has been an anomaly. I will tell you that I have, from August through, well, the last meeting when I was not able to be here, those minutes are actually typed. They're not here, they're not before you, because I still need to number and move forward. So I think I'm waiting for two, or I'm working on two to fill in the gap to do the numbers. So trust that you're gonna get a whole list. And I don't disagree. I agree with you. My intention always is to bring the minutes back at the next meeting, but this has just been one of those years, so it's on me. I am working on it, but I agree.
Thank you.
And my only comment is, you know, we've waited this long. It wouldn't have been that much more of a wait to get the information in so the future generations can be able to discern what we did or what we didn't do. You know, specifically with, you know, Station 65, you know, a lot of stuff was done there. And we need to lay a path because all of these seats and all of those seats are subject to change. So, just.
Well, yeah, to that point, I made the request on November 9th. It's November 26th. So we have the minutes that we have at hand. As we can, like I said, we can vote on those minutes. And hopefully before year end, well, we've only got two more meetings after this, Alex. So it'd be nice to be caught up at least within 30 days, because otherwise I'm having to go back and watch 5 hours of video to be able to proof minutes.
Well, I think that maybe a compromise to this is that she moves forward on the minutes from August to now, but I'm I'm gonna vote for the special meeting minutes to be revised to have all more details in there because of the station and because we had so much discussion about the station. Whether we build it next year or the year after, I'm not sure.
Right.
And so I think that we need to make sure the citizens are aware that we've spent a lot of time and energy on this new station. We broke ground for it, and now we're not building it. And I think that people should have the right to read why things changed and get more details about that station. So
The next time any of us run for re-election, someone's gonna ask, why did you pay an architect that much money and not build it? And I think to be able to look back on that historical reference is critical, so.
So I'm recommending that we.
But I think the motion
Well,
on
we
the
have a
table
vote.
is to vote yes
Yeah,
or
Okay.
to
so
vote
we vote
to
in the
approve.
affirmative, or we offered an affirmative and then we got a vote, so.
All right.
If you wanna
Mr.
call.
Roberts,
No.
Ms. Wallace,
No.
Mr. Kretz,
No. June 25th meeting?
Motion to approve the June 25th regular meeting minutes.
Second?
Mr. Roberts,
Discussion.
Reiteration of previous comments?
Okay, go ahead and call.
Mr. Roberts.
No.
Ms. Wallace.
No.
Mr. Kretz,
No. Thank you for. Next, we offer time to any citizens desiring to speak. And seeing one citizen that is not wanting to speak. We will move on to old business and update on the Township Administrator 2018 goals. So as we're rounding the corner to the 30 days left in the year, where do we stand?
So goal number one was regard to zoning, and that was to include amendments to the zoning resolution for the highway overlay district, mining district, and table 2. Table 2, as you know, was approved at the special meeting. Highway overlay district was supposed to go to the zoning commission last meeting, but they didn't have a quorum, so it will go to the next meeting. They also have a December meeting, they also have a rezoning case as well. So we plan on having a special meeting with the board, probably sometime after the first of the year, to adopt both of those. And the mining district, we do have a draft, and that has to go to the zoning commission as well.
Was this in the packet, Alex?
No, I don't.
Okay. Okay. All right, so as far as, I'm sorry, the zoning updates regarding the highway overlay and the mining district, will they be complete by the end of the year and approved?
You probably
Okay.
won't meet till, have a special meeting with everybody's schedule, for the board to approve, the mining and the highway until after the first of the year. Unless you wanna meet towards the end of, December.
It wouldn't be ready the evening of the 10th?
No, cause we have to give a 10-day notice, for
Okay.
a public hearing for the zoning action.
And it'll take more than 10 days to complete it?
Well, they'll.
Meaning we're not-
present it at
meaning
their
we're not
first
ready
meeting,
now, so
zoning.
they have to go
if
through
zoning
that.
passes it.
Sure.
Then it has to,
Okay.
we have to request a meeting 10 days after they pass it.
Okay, so, all right,
Yeah, the meeting's on the 6th, or
sure,
their meeting is, I'm sorry. Our
Okay.
meeting's on the 10th.
yeah, I understand.
So most likely we'll probably for the rezoning have to schedule that with a special meeting, the case if it passes, we'll
Right.
come to you guys sometime after the first of the year.
Okay,
Design and implement, number 2 would be the, websites, those are done, up and running in September. Goal number 3 was to negotiate a Rotary Park agreement, we did that with the help of, the city of Beavercreek, that's complete. Goal number 4 was to provide a funding plan by December 31st on what direction we're going with levy next year. We will have something for you by the end of the year, and then we'll probably tackle that with some special meetings to discuss what direction. Chief is going to provide 3 options to the board
okay,
in regards to a funding plan for another 10-year funding plan. As the board knows, we're at the end of the 10-year funding plan, and we do plan on being on the ballot in November of 2019. The next goal had several parts. One was the fire station. That one is complete in regards to the contractor at risk, but as a previous conversation, the cost came in way too high that we could afford. So we will revisit that, but the goal was to have a contractor at risk and all the documentation signed. That was complete. Water and airport, water and sewer project to be up and running by July of 2018. That is complete. It's in the middle of waiting on EPA permits. I understand they did receive them. So if it's a mild December, they may get to it. Most likely it won't be till spring till they break ground. The project will be completed on schedule though. There's no roads they have to dig up. It's just clearing trees and the biggest obstacle would be boring under the creek. But once again, we're not dealing with a road. So
Sure.
it should go pretty quick. And then the third part of that was to develop a plan with Ohio University. I am working on their first phase, which is a new building. Mr. Amrine and I will be meeting with Ohio University's Vice President, Planning Director, and Dean of Engineering School December 13th down in Athens.
it's a good day,
Excuse me?
it's a good day.
So their plan, instead of looking at the overall project, is to get this first project out of the way with a site plan, and then look at the entire potential campus location with the additional land that they bought.
Okay,
I apologize, I didn't have anything in the packet, I was trying to get it over.
no problem. Okay, thanks for the update. Technically, you know, if you look at goal number 1 though, on the zoning goals that we had, it sounds as though, providing that the commission meets, they will have essentially be ready to hand it off and deliver it and present it to the trustees. It's just a matter of when we're able to meet and review it.
2 things with that. One, if they do pass it.
Right.
If they feel comfortable moving forward with a mining district or a highway overlay district. Or what we've seen with table 2 and everything, it took several meetings.
Sure.
To pass. And,
Okay.
You know, we're really
We're close.
on their volunteer board schedule.
Right.
So,
Okay, that's what I was looking for. Thank you. All right, 2019 budget meeting.
thank you, board. It looks like everybody could meet on December 3rd. I did have one request to start at 9 a.m.
Okay, anytime is fine. And go till we're finished, or go till,
Yes.
do we have Tuesday or Wednesday as a rollover day just in case, or?
No, actually, this was the only days everybody could meet.
Okay, so we just go till we're finished?
and then I requested to be at the end of the day, like at 4:30. And then if you can do that, then I'll be happy to be here for the fiscal side of it.
Oh, meaning put fiscal at the end?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go 9 AM now.
Yeah, we'll start at 9 AM. On the 3rd.
Okay.
Gives me an extra hour to get back.
And no new business, so, I'm sorry, fuel agreement.
Thank you, Board. In your packet on page 4 is a request to look at amending the administrative fee for the fuel agreement. We are going to do some research and look at our past and compare what the increase could be. We're anticipating with the administrative cost increase based on the numbers the city provided about a $5,200 a year increase, $5,200. What I'd like to do is provide a little more information to you for the breakdown in regards to what's going to cost the fire fund, the general fund, and road and police fund. Mr. Thonerow is here to answer any questions in regard to the change in the administrative cost. I did provide some information from the city of Beavercreek in there, as well as a amendment. The current agreement allows for amendments any time between the city and the township. And this will be our first increase since 2015 when we signed the original agreement. And it has been a cost savings for the township from moving from what we're used to from the private sector to doing a joint project with the city of Beaver Creek. I'll introduce Mike Garner and talk about the administrative costs.
Good afternoon, Board. Happy to be before you. Thank you for your time this afternoon. As the Township Administrator indicated, the city is requesting an amendment to the agreement. We first entered into this discussion back in 2014, and the city's not requested any increase since that time. We are looking for a 3-cent increase. The majority of the changes come based on our insurance. The insurance required for that fuel island facility. We do find that it's been a good partnership with the township. We were actually updating our numbers because we had another request from another municipal jurisdiction, or actually from the schools, to look at partnering with us as well. So as we were updating and reviewing that, it came to our attention that it was something that probably just needed to be addressed a little bit. As Mr. Seraph indicated, it's 3 cents per gallon indication, and we anticipate that it's approximately $5,200 based on the gallons used in 2017, and we're seeing those trend about the same in 2018. So happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Oh, I'd like to compliment you on the details of the report, and I liked all the statistics and the fuel cost and all the information broken down. I think you were being very transparent on the city costs.
Well, thank you. I'll pass along my thanks to the city manager. He's certainly instilled upon us, as the previous city manager did as well, where we can partner with the township. Those things make a lot of sense, and to provide as much transparency for the public, I think, makes the most sense. So, thank you. Anything else?
No, I think that the increase is modest, and you've given enough background from a justification standpoint. I've seen these done 2 ways. One is based on a pro rata by gallons, and the other is based on a pro rata by the number of pump visits.
Oh.
And so if one vehicle is filling up 300 gallons at a time and the other vehicles are filling up 20 gallons at a time, the actual wear and tear on the pumps is not what's holding in the tank, it's the activity.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you recalculate it based on that, our pro rata share would most likely decrease. But I think, again, what you've done is simple and fair. So, and sometimes simple's better.
Thank you.
So the other question is, how long will oil stay at its current price? So
I would be in another role, sir, if I was very good.
So
No, I agree. I love all the detail and the explanation, and for you to even provide the fact that the majority of it's coming from an increase in the insurance. Insurance very seldom ever goes down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Again, my thanks to the township for their support, and the staff has been really good to work with as we've worked through this implementation of this over the last couple of years, and it's just another good mutually beneficial agreement. So I thank the trustees for their support as well.
And
Thank you.
Legal's reviewed the amendment?
Mhm.
Okay, all right, so you just need a motion to approve?
Well, if the board wants some detailed information in regards to the breakdown of what it would cost for each of the funds, we could provide that and put it in the next packet. Or if the board feels comfortable moving forward with it, that's up to you as well.
So this takes effect in, I'm sorry, January?
2019.
Yeah, January 1?
Yep.
Okay. And so as long as the budget documents reflect the increase, or if we'll
They
amend them.
wouldn't.
Yeah, they don't
Yeah.
right now, but
Yeah.
we'll amend them to
Sure.
increase that.
Mhm.
So that's one of the things we'll talk about.
Mhm.
So I don't think we need the budget detail now, unless anybody else wants it, speak for yourselves, but
No,
we're gonna
I
review
think
that in a week anyway.
I'm
Yep.
happy
Yeah.
with the,
No, we know
breakdown.
the total amount, you know, it's in line, it's measured. No, if we're gonna go over it here next week, then I see no reason not to, approve the agreement. So I'll just make a motion to approve the agreement as presented and authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
I'll second that.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes,
Thank you, board.
thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Same,
Thank you.
and pass that on to your counterparts, please.
I shall, thank you.
Next item is the sheriff's report.
Thank you, board. On page 11 begins the biweekly report. Are there any questions?
I had none.
I had no questions on the report, just comment on the awareness training, I guess I'll call it, that the sheriff's office provided. Thought they did a good job overall. I don't know, Mr. Roberts, how you thought about your segment or your session, but I think they did a good job. The one kind of discussion point that we left with, Deputy Literal, talked to him about the need for an assessment as far as this. One step was the class that that was held for us. And that was, to me, that was an awareness of what could happen in, whether you're in this building or any building. If you're in a shopping mall, what to do, what to look for, what not to do. But we kind of expanded upon that and talked that the sheriff's office, and specifically he, will provide a no-charge assessment on each of our facilities. So each station, the road department, so any of our buildings, essentially, that he'll schedule and do a no-charge assessment of looking at those specific workplaces. So, and what I referred to were some of the, at least to me, obvious risks of folks, even in our administrative offices, where because of the nature of our business, we're open to the public. You know, there's exposure and risks, even in this building, that you may be impossible to mitigate, may be easy to come up with, some type of solution. So he was willing to do that at no charge. And I said I would bring it up at our next meeting and encourage that you reach out to him and set those assessments up, and that we get them done. And I could foresee that even being one of your goals.
Yeah, we are gonna schedule 2 more days of training with them. This was the first day we could get the shift calendar and the other employees in the other departments schedule all together. So we plan on doing 2 more days, and we're gonna film the last day so that we have it as
Yeah.
well, so that if new employees can come in, they can watch it and.
Almost as an orientation.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So,
But I think
one
that-
of
I think
the
the
other things we
buildings,
talked
yeah.
about that is obviously trustee meetings, and zoning and BZA meetings. We had a lot of discussion about how to handle that in the future, and with the board's action in regards to approving the supervisor position.
The deputy.
Yeah, we would have probably a supervisor, since it would be a flex schedule, probably flex to be at some of the meetings.
Yeah. That would help.
Yeah.
The concerns and the soft spots that I was concerned about were the administrative offices
Yes.
specifically.
Yes.
And how do we handle a situation when we have 500 to 1,000 people crawling all over the place for an open house, try a truck? And events like that where you have a lot of people, or just simple events where someone walks into zoning or HR, or be it disgruntled or not.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
I had a question on the extra patrol. Is this, they just had somebody extra that was going out and doing,
But usually
Patrol in
the
the
extra
area?
patrols are based on citizens' complaints. So if they, for example, if a citizen calls in and says, a bunch of teenagers been speeding down my street, they'll mark that as a complaint and then go out and mark that as an extra patrol. So they're patrolling that area. So, some of them also, and I'll get a detail for you what extra patrols are, but that's the one that comes that I've been asked about in the past.
what I get confused though is when you list out some of these extra patrols, they're within 10 seconds of another extra patrol. And it's hard for me to imagine being able to go from one place to another and one is, 2 minutes and some, the other is seconds on these time ranges on dates. So it's just hard for me to envision them moving to the next location in that short a time.
Yeah, and it could be multiple addresses on the same street.
I mean, it's
I'll check
for
with them.
that many citizens calling that street within, and then they get there and they're patrolling the street within one minute of each other or seconds of each other. It's kind of hard for me to wrap my head around here.
Yeah, and we definitely, and these are all CAD reports as well, so we can look into that. I don't have access to that, but I'll definitely ask the sheriff to provide some additional information.
That's again where I would like to see a sheriff's representative
Yeah,
here at the meetings.
Once we have the promotion, and the sheriff has to do a promotional list, so the cutoff was last Friday to turn everything
Okay.
in. So they'll be going through, based on their union contract, the promotional process. But the intent is to have that supervisor at the trustee meetings and at the department head meetings as well.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, anything else on the sheriff's report?
Thank you, Board. Next item is on page 28, is an update to the captain's job description.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So we have some fairly substantive changes to the captain job description. And we tracked the changes. It was between a couple of different documents, so I hope it's not too confusing for you to follow. Did you have any changes or suggestions?
The only, and actually I started to type this, I never sent the email, I apologize. So the drafting of this text, I'll start with there under like definition, the paragraph there, and throughout. Have we put this through legal? Is this something we've done internally? Is this something you did, the chief did?
It was a combination.
Okay.
Captains reviewed it, the deputy chiefs reviewed
Okay.
it, I reviewed it.
And the only reason, and unfortunately or fortunately, but I spend most of my days reading contract language, and so I tend to read things, and words matter. And so when I read this, it says the captain is the shift commander. They supervise fire lieutenants. The captain directs and coordinates. I understand what we're trying to communicate. Some of this, though, I feel as though the language needs to be cleaned up, just from a legal standpoint, so that we remove second person and or first, we consolidate to first or second
Okay.
person, and that we're just careful. I felt this was worded as like a draft. It's not a nit. Maybe, at least I'm not trying to make it a nit.
No,
But
it
it's
is,
worded
yeah.
like a draft, and I understand it's a work in progress, but I think we need to run it through a legal as far as grammar and punctuation, only because these things tend to show up in a lawsuit 10 years from now, where someone
Okay.
goes back to their job description and says, well, that's not what it said. So,
Okay, well, we haven't had our job descriptions reviewed by legal before, so are you wanting all of them to be reviewed?
I'm just, in this specific case, I think we just need to take another look at grammar, punctuation, and first person, second person, and we can do that.
Okay.
We can do that ourselves.
Right.
We don't necessarily need to
Okay.
pay an attorney to do that, but I think in general, I don't think that we update our job descriptions that often, and when we do, or it would be helpful. I know in certain cases we have. We've had legal help draft those, so that we're careful. So I'm just pointing that out.
Well, I just went ahead and marked off the,
I think
I can see in the first.
you've covered the spirit, essentially,
Right.
of what we're trying to do, and I think
Yeah, and the position, the captain's position was created after the reorg, and after almost over a year now of having the captains, we revisit it to see, what's working, what's not working, and make those adjustments.
So is it safe to assume that under the essential functions of the position, you did not have these ones, twos? I mean, it seems like you cut out a whole lot of information.
Well, I mean, this document was drafted before they took, they were hired into the position. And so now that they're actually in the position, they are doing, they have different duties
Okay,
well
you're
and
cleaning it
above
up.
the original document.
We used to have the battalion chiefs that did a lot of they had administrative role and shift commander role. And now by moving with the reorganization and the eliminating of one battalion chief position and moving them to a 40-hour work schedule, we created the shift captain position, and they're just responsible for the shifts.
Okay.
So the administrative side of things have been removed, truly under admin, non-union positions. And then this is to clean it all up after the reorganization.
Okay, that makes more
And,
sense.
and we've been, since it's a new position, and essentially new, year and a couple months, I would think, we've gone through and say, okay, this should be more admin, this should be more of the duties of the captains.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll take a look at that and bring that back.
I would look at it. I mean, and I guess I would just throw out to the other trustees, when it comes to job descriptions, if that's something that we want. I mean, if we essentially do what, redline a document and create the spirit of what we're after, to spend an hour or two on an attorney to look at this, to me, is worthwhile. It, number one, takes some burden off 2 years later, me coming back to HR and saying, why didn't we catch this?
Right,
And it's because neither of us are attorneys.
right. Yeah, I don't have a problem sending
So
it
I
to
respect that, and so I don't, that's just my opinion, that job descriptions in the world we live in today, I think, demand just a quick legal review before we go publish with them.
Okay.
Why
I can
don't we
send it to-
have you clean it up and then present it to Don when it's all cleaned up? I think maybe that might be better.
Okay,
To
that works.
Ms. Frick or to Taft for
Either
employment?
one.
So,
Yeah.
all right, either one.
All right, anything else?
Anything else on that? Anything as far as the spirit of the job description for captain, were there any questions or concerns or issues?
No,
No.
I felt the spirit was there.
Mhm.
Okay. So just a final cleanup
Okay.
and tune-up would be great.
But I do appreciate being able to see everything now,
Mm-hmm.
to kind of see where we're going.
Right.
Because I think that helps that helps define the spirit and the intent, so we just need to move forward.
Okay.
Is it clear, and I presume it is, that there somewhere, if you took a side-by-side of a lieutenant and a captain, there's a clear delineation of the differences?
Definitely.
Between
And
the
this further clarifies that.
Okay, all right.
Good.
Okay. And anything on the bi-weekly for HR?
I had nothing.
I had
We
nothing.
look busy.
We are.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, board. Next item's on page 33, is the biweekly report for the zoning department. Are there any questions?
Has there been any update with regards to the gentleman that came in at the last meeting? Did we learn anything more from the developer or from the county or any other body with regards to any assistance that we can? I owe that gentleman a call or a visit, so I want to.
I've had no further interaction with any of the parties involved.
Okay,
We're putting together a timeline to present that shows the clear, which I believe was a request of
right,
putting a timeline together.
okay. Is there any relief that can come from any other, either the county or anyone else?
No, I did talk to the county, and what the county does is remove landscaping plans from the final review process.
Because there was a discussion
It's
about,
specifically because they don't want to be getting involved in conversations like this.
I guess there was a discussion, though, about what was approved on the plan that we have. as
It
far
was
as-
the same image, and
then
it
did he
was,
install what was approved, or was something lacking?
right, it simply wasn't
The
a
location of-
specific landscaping sheet within the approved plans. The image existed within the grading plans?
Okay,
But it wasn't an item that was explicitly and individually called out within the approval process, and therefore they don't
Okay.
feel like they have any authority to enforce any of the images
Sure.
on there.
okay. Can I ask then that that you provide at least me with an executive summary type and a timeline?
Will do.
And then if I can have that by the end of the day Thursday, and then I'll try to.
Sure.
I'll try to meet with him either over the weekend or next week, as soon as he can meet,
Okay,
and at least fulfill the commitment we made at the meeting.
no problem.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else on zoning as far as
I have nothing.
the bi-weekly or any other activity or developments?
The questions that I had brought up, did those people, apply for a zoning permit?
Yes.
And you've got-
Well, they're in the process of doing so. I indicated to the owners of the building that a permit was needed, and that because it was a change of use permit that was being contemplated here, that the owner's signature was going to be required. And so the Kaufmans came in the next day and affixed their signature to an application form. Now, the people who will rent the space and run the business as a kind of franchise
Mhm.
for Hertz rental cars are the ones who will be actually filling out the application and paying the application fee. That hasn't happened yet, but the Kaufman's piece of it is completed. They further filled in some details for me that, first of all, only 6 parking spaces are going to be needed for this operation. 6 parking spaces along with an office. In fact, it's the office that you use to lease. And there will be no impact on the other tenants in the building.
Okay.
No one's being asked to leave. So I thought that went, it was a very friendly
Good.
meeting, interaction with them.
But that permit has to be, once they fill out the documentation, it's most likely will be approved.
Oh, there's no question it'll
Okay.
be approved.
So
It-
they can go ahead and move without having it approved prior to.
There won't be any delay in their planned move into the space.
Okay.
And according to the conversation I had with the franchise holder, they won't be doing any renovations to the building. So this is not going to be a case where a zoning permit informs a building permit. There will be no building permit issued. I simply need to verify that this is an approved use of the property and have that documentation available, should anybody ask.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
And then, and anything further on,
Yes, I had an exchange of emails with the person who
To clarify, this is
administers the RU
this is
recovery
regarding the
program.
church.
This is in
church
re-
area
this is
recovery, yeah.
Just for the
Yeah.
public's
At the-
edification, so.
at
I
the
think we can all
Victory.
read each other's mind, but they can't.
Actually, 2 things happened with that. I've had contact with the sign company who is constructing and will install their permanent sign. And that's underway. And then the woman who runs the RU recovery program and I will be setting up a time to meet here within the next week. I had an email from her over the weekend. So I still would like to take steps to involve the pastor himself, because ultimately, the ultimate responsibility in zoning always rests with the property owner, and ultimate benefit pertains to the property owner. And I think it's important that the church takes some responsibility for their for their role
Yeah, I think
in
it's imperative that
Yes.
the landowner is responsible 100%.
allowing the signs and all of that good stuff. So, but yes, we're moving in that one as well.
So, and you're discussing within the possibility of putting that special sign on the electronic sign? Is there, are they
Yes.
open to that kind of discussion? I mean, 'cause
Yes.
to me, that's, then they can run it as many times as they want.
Seems like a no-brainer, right?
Yeah.
That and just a reaffirmation of what the temporary sign permit process is and what
Exactly.
the rules are, so that, and
And then they shouldn't need yet a third sign
Right.
in order to advertise a special program. It shouldn't be necessary anymore. And I'll let them know that it's, should in the future they desire to have, in addition to their permanent sign and the permitted temporary sign on wheels, should they wish an additional sign to advertise a special program, that it would likely require a public hearing before the Board of Zoning Appeals. That's what my message to them would be.
I would just recommend that you follow that, after you have that meeting, follow it up with an email documenting what you discussed and the date of the
Yes.
meeting, and just a friendly post-it, so that everybody has it documented that you met and you discussed it. Pastors change, volunteer groups change, and they may wanna do a vacation Bible school in the middle of having one of
Right.
these intervention programs, so.
Will do.
So just so they understand it clearly and it's documented. Great. Thank you. Anything else zoning activity-wise?
So you had stated you thought we were gonna get to our numbers from last year. Are we still on target for that, or do you think we're gonna fall short?
I'm not sure. We lost some steam last week. There are 2 permits on my desk right now. We could end the year with maybe 10 or 15 permits behind last year.
Sure.
Still a good year.
It's not a catastrophic change. It doesn't represent a market collapse by any stretch. And with 2 or 3 new sections coming online here within the next month or so, that whatever that lost steam is will be made up early in construction season next year.
Right.
You'll see the numbers for shovel-ready sites take another jump when these other 2 sections are recorded. It'll get back up around 300 sites.
The interesting piece would be, even if you took a 10% reduction in the number of new homes built, the valuation of that 90% may be very close to what you had at 100%, because resale prices have gone up, number one, so
Right.
market valuation's gone up, and then the new home prices are higher than
As
they were a year
right,
ago.
construction costs have gone up, and
So that
the
budget impact may be non-existent.
very little impact on projected revenue. And the numbers that we'll get in the first quarter of next year from the Building Regulations Department will continue to reflect high valuation numbers because of all those factors that we've just mentioned.
Very good. Any other questions for Ed?
Nope.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you, Ed.
Thanks.
Thank you, Board. Next item is on page 38 of your packet, is the biweekly report for IT. Are there any questions?
Any problems, concerns, either from external customers or internal users with regards to the website and the new website and the launch of it? And
I've heard a lot of positive comments from people that are talking about outside of the township, of
Okay.
citizens, of the easiness and the use of it. What we do plan on putting a in-touch article out in regards to that, and the usability. In other words, so like when I post the agenda, it goes out immediately to anybody who signed up for it and links them back to it. And then they can sign up for everything from alerts to agenda items to calendar events or anything.
Right.
So we plan on putting that in the in-touch and get more citizens aware that it's a new website.
Is that fully functional now? It's just a matter of?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, as
Yeah,
far
it's
as
fully
this-
functional now. People can sign up.
Okay. And then as far as the fillable documents for zoning and for?
Yeah, we're gonna be working on that. We are gonna explore some options next year of an intern.
Okay.
Potentially helping us out on that.
Is that documents that we're creating in-house, or we're having them create for us?
No, they're already created, we just have to convert them,
Okay.
to the website.
Okay.
So they're there now. What we have the ability to do is fillable PDF through the website, or create a actual web page that will collect the data and then email it, and that's what we plan on
Pump it
doing.
through, okay. Okay,
And it will be able to upload stuff, so if you wanna upload and send, you know, a document to any of the departments and that fillable forms, you could do that.
okay. And when do you project that we'll be finished with the implementation phase and just go into maintenance mode?
Implementation phase, we're essentially done. We just want, on our wish list is to get all the forms paperless. And so that will be a longer process next year. And if we can find an intern from one of the universities in the undergraduate IT programs, that would be
Okay.
great.
Might also check Sinclair,
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
so, or
Yeah.
Clark.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you, Board. Next item is on page 41, is the biweekly report for the road department. Are there any questions? Obviously, we had all that ice.
Busy few days.
Any questions on roads?
I have
I
no
had none.
questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Board.
Fire.
Next item is on page 42, obviously would be the request to fill the existing lieutenant vacancy. We'll move that to the, later on this afternoon for a promotion, so that we'll promote Alex Ferguson hopefully at that meeting. Or
I talked to him earlier. He said he would be here. So,
It's helpful.
yes.
We've had it once at least since I've been here where they didn't show up to be hired.
That's true.
That is true. Next item is the fire department organizational update. This kind of relates to the changes we made in regards to the captain's job description. So I'll let the chief talk about some of the changes he's making at the admin level.
Yeah, and this is a minor reorg internally, and it's to allow us to put more focus on the accreditation process. We've been talking about it for about a year. We've got a couple people educated. We have the KETA class upcoming that we discussed earlier this year. And as part of this, I've reassigned Deputy Chief Dorston is going to be the accreditation manager. That's one of the key positions to be filled. And Battalion Chief Young is going to be supporting him in the planning and the quality assurance process. So based off of some of the changes and the focus that we want to put on having those pieces in place, I felt it was appropriate to rename our two overall divisions in the fire department to reflect those in the priorities. And it's really to help the organization understand what the roles and responsibilities are going to be. So Chief Dorson as accreditation manager will handle the planning and quality assurance side. And that's basically going to take over all of the accreditation processes, which are the ones we've already discussed. So strategic planning, which will tie in with the budget as well. The standards of cover update, so the board's already seen our first edition of that, and we're already working on our second edition and our self-assessment. And then those will tie in with ISO and a couple other pieces that are important to the community as far as community risk management. Focusing on that is going to take more of their time, and so Chief Merckx will handle the service delivery side, which essentially will put him in direct supervision over the three captains and the service delivery side of the organization. So in the end, all the same jobs are being done. How we divided up the work is a little bit different, and it's to allow us to focus and make sure that we're moving on the accreditation pieces that we've identified.
Will you be reducing to writing a new organizational chart
Yes, ma'am.
that we can put out?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, matter of fact, there were a few unknowns that we're working through, detail levels below that. As soon as those are done, we'll have a draft for you.
Okay.
And, the key
The only
part
thing
there.
one
Yes, sir.
thing I would comment, and this just goes to past experiences, if the opportunity presents itself, is to potentially assign a junior person to
Mhm.
each deputy chief for some mentoring, so that there's some inherent succession planning, so that as these individuals either hit the lottery or retire, or both, then we have someone who's at least been exposed and working along with that process, so that it's not a cold handoff.
Yeah,
So,
the difficulty for us, and I appreciate that, and we actually have it almost upside down a little bit, because Chief Dorson, for example, has a longer tenure than Chief Young does, just based off of years of service and things. So we have the junior person that's leading it, the senior person is a supporting role right now. As those retirements and things happen, that our goal is to do just that, so that we're able to have that continuity. The challenge that we have in doing so is we've thinned down, especially the chief ranks, as much as we have. So there's not as many bodies that we can move into those junior positions as we would perhaps like. So succession planning is a big part of the planning process that we're going to be talking about with the board in our strategic plan. And that's going to start essentially this time next year with Chief Young's retirement as he reaches into his service.
okay. Very good. Any questions on that item?
Thank you, Board. The next item is a purchase request for a microwave replacement. I did mention earlier to a conversation I had, this is an unbudgeted request. The next one is a budgeted request. So she's
Yeah.
here to answer any questions.
And I don't know much about this at this point, other than we have some capital communications pieces that are either planned for this year or will be are budgeted in the document for next year. This one is to facilitate an immediate need. We've had droppages. Is that a word? We've had drops between here and Station 64 a number of times. And not only is that affecting us, but it's also affecting some of the partners that we have, specifically Sugar Creek, as they rely on us as a pass-through with some of the county devices as well. So this is a critical repair piece. That's why you're seeing it now. And then you'll see some additional, like I said, in next year's budget.
Do we, and I know I've asked this before, and I think I know the answer, I'll just reiterate it again, do we do any, is there any cost sharing from the other partners that, or the other users on this system? Because there's more than just Sugar Creek, correct?
I believe Bellbrook gets some from Sugar Creek. It tags along. I don't believe there's a specific cost sharing on this part of it, because it's infrastructure that we would otherwise need for ourselves. And I think they take care of the cost of the pieces to reach from our terminal point, which is 64 south. I can confirm that, but if I remember correctly, that's how it was set up.
The agreement is it's from, they're responsible from Station 64 to the water tower in Sugar Creek. And then they have whatever agreement between Sugar Creek and the city of Bellbrook.
Right, I guess my question, there's two parts of my question. Number one is, would we be realizing the degradation if we didn't have anyone else sharing it?
Oh, yeah, this is physical end-of-life replacement for the equipment. So it's been on the tower as long as it can be on the tower and still function properly.
Okay. And then the second is, I understand being a good neighbor, I also understand paying your fair share. And
Right.
so the question is there an opportunity at least to say, okay, whether it's 5%, 10% of the cost for some cost sharing? And there's risks that go with that, I understand, whenever you ask someone to begin to pay for something.
Yeah.
So there's the capital cost, and then there's the maintenance cost. And I understand they're handling their own transfer, but it wouldn't be possible if they weren't on there.
Yeah.
On the system.
The one major piece of that jumps to mind is I don't believe we have a size upgrade or any capacity increase that we've purchased to support that. So we could certainly, and I would say probably Mr. Harry, reach out to Sugar Creek and discuss that side of things.
Yeah,
but from a technical standpoint, it's not like we had to upsize our pipe in order to support their use. So there's no additional, so it would be basically just a cost sharing of our existing expense that we would have, whether they're a part of it or not.
Now,
So,
one discussion we've had with all the entities is if we do increase the pipe or the bandwidth in regards to the microwave system, that would be a cost sharing, because now we're talking about the city of Beavercreek, Sugar Creek, and whatever agreement they have with Bellbrook. And that would include Greene County, and then separately the Greene County Airport that we provide a pipe through. So we've had that discussion in regards to if we notice a significant slowdown in regards to our connectivity between the stations, we increase I think it's the bandwidth, what I'm saying. that
I'm
correctly.
assuming so, yeah.
Increase that size, that would be a cost sharing amongst all the entities involved, which, like I said, would be the city of Beavercreek, Sugar Creek, Greene County, and Greene County Airport.
So we obviously don't consume 100% of the bandwidth today,
Correct.
because we share the bandwidth we have. And so, which implies that we could get by with less bandwidth than we have.
Yes, but I don't know if there's like certain price points where you buy 100 megs and
Right, I understand.
where it's like a logarithmic thing where
You buy
we couldn't buy a smaller one and get by, so the one we have has sufficient capacity. I don't know the details of that.
I don't think we've increased it since I've been here with adding all those additional partners, so.
But what
I'll
you're
go back
asking to
and look at
purchase
that.
is not additional bandwidth, you're asking to purchase.
This is to replace equipment that's
Replace
there
hardware,
with
yeah.
like, or with as
Current.
current like as possible, yes, sir.
Right.
And I'll confirm that with Chief Easter, but that is my understanding,
Okay.
is that this is not additional to support anything.
Okay, and whether we had partners on it or not,
We would have to
we
do
would
this.
need this,
Yes, sir.
this specific hardware
Yes, sir.
to
And this-
satisfy our needs.
Yeah, and this is, we look at this every year when we talk about, fiber, and this is still a cheaper option for us.
Yeah, that's a good point. The Chief Easter did his last assessment when we were evaluating what our communication needs at 65 would be. And at this point, it is still cheaper to provide our own tower-to-tower microwave than it is to do a business-class fiber connection. But we run that number every year, every other year, as we have to do these types of projects to make sure that our return on investment is better with this solution than the other.
You can ask the GE plant what they pay for fiber, it's expensive, so, because it was
Yeah. Well,
offered to me.
And I know when we
Oh,
looked
really?
at Station 65, I know the city of Beavercreek is looking at additional options because the country club or the golf club is on dial-up, as on regular, whatever it is, broadband, and they've been trying to get fiber there, and the cost is really expensive to get fiber.
Okay. All right,
I had two questions on this purchase. One is, can you explain, you're saying, the last sentence of this, you said that for the expected 8 to 10-year lifespan of the microwave link, the lease circuit cost would be between $52,800 and $66,000. So are you saying that this $28,000 is a part of that, and we're looking to spend that much more money, or
No,
we only have to
this-
spend the 28, we're not gonna have to spend the 66?
That is, Chief Easter wrote it, but I believe that was his, the cost analysis that I described a minute ago, that's probably the summary of that cost analysis. So we could spend that much on a leased line, or we can spend the amount for the purchase.
Okay.
today.
That would be
That's-
by
that's
versus
good.
rent.
Yes.
All right. And then the other question I had, since this is an unbudgeted item, Ms. Aaron's, is this something that we can, this $28,667, is that something that our budget can withstand?
I'm assuming that the fire chief has talked to your administrator to have it be approved to be taken out of contingencies or another line item.
Yeah, I believe the purchase request has the amount set and the location of the funds so that we can do it. I don't have
it's
it
either
in
coming
front of
from
me.
contingencies or from another fund, but
Yeah, I believe
dollars
it's,
that are available.
I believe it's money that was not going to be spent on another project
Yeah,
at this
it's gonna
point,
be-
because we're end
it's
of
not
year.
coming out of contingency only.
It's not coming out of the new fire station line?
No, it's not
No,
coming
no.
out of the fire station.
All right, I just wanna make sure that there's money there, cause
Yep.
it seems like all of a sudden at the end of the year, we have these major expenditures
Yes,
that
ma'am.
I thought could have been put in the budget for next year.
Yeah, and this, I think if it wasn't such a pressing need, would go, because you're gonna, like I said, you'll see in the 2019 budget, we have additional microwave costs in there, but this one is critical to get done before the other ones would be available to be done.
Okay,
Because those are I'm guessing those will be a first or second quarter, weather dependent with weather. Weather dependent with weather?
Yeah. They gotta climb.
With
it down.
snow, yeah.
yeah, all right, thank
We
you.
try and keep them out of the winter if at all possible.
Well, I make a motion to approve purchase request 09842 to Summit Wireless for one microwave network connection and installation services in the amount of $28,667.18, and to authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second,
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes,
Thank you, board.
next item.
The next item is for the purchase of SCBA repair parts. What we're running into here is the end-of-life of these particular packs is approaching, and Scott is in the process of getting ready to roll out the new air packs. So this is getting sufficient parts based off of our history and usage to make sure that we can get through end of life and then into the purchase of replacement packs. We know those will have to happen probably in 2 years. We were looking at next year originally. There's an NFPA standard that drives the industry, or the industry drives the NFPA standard. There is kind of a little bit of a circle there. But they will not be ready probably until 2020 to be purchased. We intend to go for grant funding at that point, so we want to make sure we maximize the lifespan of our current packs, which means having adequate repair parts to keep them in service until we're able to replace them. So this is basically a buying and surplusing or stocking our own repair parts so that we can manage it over about these next 2 years.
And this is a budget for that.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay.
Probably should have led
Any
with that.
questions?
No, with that being said, I'll make a motion to approve purchase request 09771 to Finley Fire Equipment for SCBA replacement parts in the amount of $10,353.50, and to authorize the township administrator to sign for the board.
Second.
Quick, just real comment
Yes, sir.
on, with regard, you commented that these will be replacement parts for the next year or 2 years. And just to emphasize the need to make sure we store them in the proper environment if there's any gaskets or anything like that, so that they don't dry rot, not that they would, but.
Yes, sir.
So you've got.
Yeah, so they're usable
protect
when we
them
need
for
to
their
use them.
shelf life, so they're usable for the entire period, and you don't diminish the life of when you go to need them.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kratz?
Yes.
Thank you, board.
Thank you, board. Last item is the biweekly activity report.
And we're still fighting with the data transfer for the EMS report, which is why it is still absent. And cautiously optimistic based off Chief Easter's updates that we will be able to have that for the next time. So you'll be able to see where we're at. At this point, it's because of how they store things in the cloud. It's not as clean and clear cut for reporting purposes of what we currently have. So we're working through those issues, and as soon as we have it done, we'll have that back before the board.
Great public outreach this session, Chief, and then also as I was making my yearly rounds with pies to the fire stations, the kids and I, for Thanksgiving, you know, we've had a community partner, I believe it was a church from Heber Heights or something. They brought full-blown meals to every fire station.
Really? I had not heard that.
Yeah, they were making me look bad. They were getting ahead of me. And, I mean, turkey, a big turkey, pans of mashed potatoes, pans of vegetables, desserts, the whole 9 yards, every
Okay.
fire station.
I'll have to look into that, because that's the first I'd heard that.
So we
That's
wanna
good.
make sure that, if the crews know where, that, you know, we reach out.
Yes, sir.
Say a huge thank you.
It'd be nice just to send a thank you letter
Yeah.
from the township.
Yes.
We can sign that.
Yes, sir.
I think on
Yeah.
behalf of the township, so.
Yeah, there's another one as well. City Barbecue, Thanksgiving evening, delivered to the dispatch center enough food to feed the police department and the fire department. So
Oh, wow.
Wow.
apparently, smoked turkey is the way to go at City Barbecue, according to the crews. So,
Wow.
I love it.
And then also too, I believe that the crews all filed in and out for, Ms.
Mr. Ganas, yes,
We
sir.
wanna make sure that we say thank you for that as well.
Yeah, she's an excellent resource for us.
Yeah.
Huge advocate.
Yeah, so, just publicly thank you to all those folks, that meant a lot, that meant a lot.
Anything else, fire related?
we will reconvene at 4 o'clock for the lieutenant promotion.
I appreciate you being willing to take the recess. It makes the family a lot easier for them to get here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank
Very
you,
good.
board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, board. That's all I have.
Ms. Frick
Nothing.
and Ms. Aaron's.
You have the resolution that was in the packet right there. It's just for the temporary appropriations for 2019 based off the county auditors. Numbers as presented, so.
Are there any questions on the resolutions? Just 2 copies of the same.
Correct. One for us, one for the county auditor.
Do we have a motion motion to approve?
You can just, approve the 2019 temporary appropriations as presented and then I can put the words in and the numbers.
Sure.
I move to approve the temporary appropriation budget of 2019 fiscal year as
Presented.
presented.
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes.
And then I just have one other thing that I don't know if I missed it. You talked about it when I was sick last time, but the December 24th meeting, normally we move that to an earlier time because it's pretty much just approving payroll and bills and
It's actually
payroll.
scheduled for the 26th.
It's scheduled for the 26th.
Correct. Yeah, so
Because normally we've gone before.
last couple of years, we've,
I've actually
since we
canceled
We've
changed
canceled it.
everything, we've canceled it. So I will probably be recommending the next meeting to
Okay.
cancel that.
I didn't
meeting.
know if I'd missed
Yeah.
that discussion,
No.
so.
When
I
we
was
approved
just-
last year's meeting schedule, I moved that to the
was-
26th.
Thank you,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I missed
Yeah, no, that's no big deal. Yeah, it will be my recommendation at the next meeting. to
At
go
the
ahead
next,
and
sorry,
cancel.
I just didn't know if I.
I thought we were gonna
Yeah.
have it.
Yeah, unless anything comes up in the department head meeting, I will probably request that we go ahead and cancel that one.
Anything?
No, that was,
Okay.
sorry.
MVRPC,
Meeting was canceled.
and your health department did not meet. And so, Greene County Regional Planning,
It's tomorrow and you're going to graciously attend from me.
correct?
Last month was canceled.
Okay, I will keep your gift. School superintendent meeting?
I talked with the school superintendent, just passed on some information I received from, some concerns I received from citizens in regards to their redistricting. I did provide some additional information to the schools in regards to growth. I did receive a email just before the meeting from a GIS specialist working with the schools. So it looks like zoning and myself will sit down with them to provide them additional information. City manager and I haven't met this week, I believe. And our advisory board for RIPAT has not met.
Okay. On the Investment Oversight Committee, I think we should probably look at sometime January, February, first quarter, essentially have reconvene a meeting. So if you want to reach out to all the members of that and probably Mr. Ansbaugh, not Mr. Ansbaugh, to Morgan Stanley.
Yeah,
Mr. Anzick. Too many ands.
Sure will.
Okay, at this time, look for a motion to go into executive session under Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22G1, to consider the compensation of public employees. Ohio Revised Code, Section 121.22G2, to consider the purchase of property for public purposes or for the sale of property at competitive bidding if premature disclosure of information would give an unfair competitive or bargaining advantage to a person whose personal private interest is adverse to the general public interest.
So moved?
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes. All right, it's 3:33. We have a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved?
Second.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes, and at this point, we will take a break, a recess until 4 o'clock, and we'll reconvene. Okay, it is 4 o'clock, and we will reconvene our regular meeting with the most pleasant part of the day. Go for it.
Well, thank you, Board. I appreciate you taking extra time out of your day to meet with us. This afternoon, it is my honor to recommend for promotion to the position of lieutenant, a member who demonstrates the knowledge, skills, and attitude that exemplify the professionalism and pride of Beavercreek Township Fire Department and our commitment to the citizens of Beavercreek. The position of lieutenant is charged with managing the day-to-day operations and readiness of the individual fire stations and personnel, lead their personnel in training, initiating and monitoring task-level assignments at various emergencies, managing programs and program budgets, and overseeing the development of the personnel they work beside. Lieutenants report to the captains. This afternoon, I'm recommending to you that firefighter Alex Ferguson be promoted to the position and rank of lieutenant. Alex grew up in Spring Valley, Ohio, and attended Xenia Community Schools, where he graduated in 2006. Alex began his journey in the fire service as a junior firefighter at the age of 15 with the Spring Valley Township Fire Department, and finally joined as a volunteer firefighter in March of 2006. After graduating high school, he furthered his education at Cincinnati State Technical and Community College and obtained an associate's degree in fire science technology. He later earned his paramedic certification at Sinclair Community College in 2011. Alex was hired at Beavercreek Township Fire Department as a part-time firefighter in October 2009 and later hired as full-time firefighter paramedic in February of 2013. During his employment at Beavercreek, Alex has obtained numerous certifications such as Fire Officer 1 and 2, NIMS 100, 200, 700, and 800, Ice Rescue Technician, Auto Extrication Machinery Technician, Trench Rescue Technician, Structural Collapse Specialist, Rope Rescue Technician, Confined Space Technician, Elevator Rescue, Swift Water Operations, and Hazmat Operations. Alex is also a rescue specialist for Region 3 Rescue Strike Team and Ohio Task Force 1. Alex is a hard worker and is constantly trying to improve operations through effective training. He has been the lead instructor as well as an assistant instructor for many classes such as forcible entry, pump operations, elevator rescue, rope rescue, auto extrication, and many other rescue disciplines for Beavercreek Township Fire Department and other outside fire agencies. Alex is a driving evaluator and a VFIS instructor for Beavercreek. He is also a Greater Miami Valley EMS Protocol Evaluator for Beavercreek. Alex has a great many things going on in his life right now also. He is married to his wonderful wife Amy and has a 2-year-old son Henry, and they are expecting their second son on December 30th of this year and look forward to the joys of 2 kids. Alex lives in Beavercreek and has an older brother Chris, who is also a career firefighter with us. In Alex's free time, he enjoys hanging out with his family and friends along with boating and playing his banjo. He has gained great knowledge and friends through this organization and is thrilled to continue his career as a lieutenant with Beavercreek Township Fire Department. And with that, it's my pleasure to recommend to the Board of Trustees that firefighter Alex Ferguson be promoted to the position of lieutenant.
Thank you. On behalf of the board, to all of our fire crew that's in this room, we'd like to thank you for your commitment and your service to the community. So the residents truly appreciate you. The board recognizes what you do, and we appreciate it. To our candidate for promotion, congratulations. You tested excellent, and your commitment doesn't, and really your contribution to the community doesn't go without being noticed. To your wife, thank you for allowing us to have them. So it's we know it's not easy sometimes, but we appreciate that. And to the rest of your family, thank you for your service, and thank you again for allowing us to have him as part of our organization. So with that, we have a resolution that Ms. Wallace will read, and I've asked Mr. Roberts to administer your oath.
A resolution promoting 1 full-time lieutenant, whereas the Ohio Revised Code 505.38A requires a board of township trustees in each township with a fire department to provide for the employment of firefighters as it considers best, and whereas Resolution 2017-262 passed by the board on July 14th, 2017, modified the fire department's authorized staffing levels to include 12 full-time lieutenants, and whereas the fire department is currently only staffed with 11 full-time lieutenants. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Beavercreek Township Trustees hereby promotes the following full-time firefighter to the rank of lieutenant effective November 26, 2018, as the prescribed rates of pay and benefits in accordance with the current Beavercreek Professional Firefighters Collective Bargaining Agreement. Further, be it resolved that all formal actions of the Board of Trustees concerning and relating to the adoption of this resolution are being adopted at a duly called and authorized open meeting of the Board of Township Trustees on the date set forth above. Such meeting being duly called pursuant to and in compliance with all legal requirements, including Section 121.22 of the Ohio Revised Code.
My honor to second that.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes. Almost there. And at this time, I'd like to administer your oath.
Alex, come on. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
So now it's gonna be my high grade honor to administer your oath of office. Would you raise your right hand? I, Alex Ferguson, being duly sworn. I, Alex Ferguson, being duly sworn. Say that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
Say that I will support the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the State of Ohio.
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
And will faithfully discharge the duties of lieutenant
and will faithfully discharge the duties of lieutenant
of the Beavercreek Township Fire Department, Greene County, State of Ohio.
of the Beavercreek Township Fire Department, Greene County, State of Ohio.
Good. Now, on behalf of the Board of Trustees, we do hereby certify that we have on this date promoted Alex Ferguson to the position of full-time lieutenant of the Beavercreek Township Fire Department. Said appointment is to take effect November 26, 2018. Congratulations.
That's a signature.
Hey, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Almost there. Hope you were nice to her.
I hope so.
If it doesn't go, just push it harder.
Now, Henry, you wanna come up here, buddy? Let me hold this. Did you say cheese?
Okay, put the arm around.
Good for him.
Put that arm right around his shoulder.
Save it for later.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Board. That's all the business the fire department had for you today.
Okay, thank you. Congratulations again. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
If there's no other business come before the board, look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
Second.
Ms. Wallace?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Kretz?
Yes. Thank you all for coming.